We spoke last year about your survey, and we were wondering what would be the impact of the COVID crisis on the co-working industry. Well, 1 year later, and we know, and it's pretty harsh, let's say, because you just released your survey 2021 for Europe, and the fact that indeed we have those numbers is also very insightful to understand what could be the future. But first of all, let's remind us who you are and what MatchOffice does.
Yes, so my name is Olga Fomenko. I'm the head of market team at MatchOffice. Our company helps find clients for flexible workspace, and we work with operators all over the world. And also among those operators, every year we conduct a survey to find out tendencies regarding office occupancies, pricing, general outlook on the business. And of course, this year it was very interesting to see what the situation is, taking into account that we are now 1 year into the pandemic. And we can see that actually some trends that emerged during 2020, they fortified and now even became the new work practices, let's say. For example, we're talking about the office workflows of many tenants who are now very different from what it was. That companies are now looking for either just remote work, or those are hybrid work models. So now work is viewed more as a process rather than the location where it is happening.
Okay.
And 4 out of 5 operators actually emphasize that the work practices have changed so dramatically that it will inevitably have consequences on their business and on their income.
We'll go into more details to look at your charts, and there are some learnings also a little by country, with 1 or 2 countries where the situation is slightly different than in the others. It's interesting to see. But first of all, one very important part, because we have been speaking about hybrid working, work near home, all those things that have been around for quite a while, for a few years, but so far it was mainly on paper. What tells you now, or make you confident to say that now it's becoming concrete, real, that decisions are made according to that? So the companies and tenants are really definitely changing their workplace practices, and that's not just a nice sketch of what would be an ideal world if we could implement it right away.
Well, first of all, we could see this from the demand from our clients, that during last year, people were mostly interested in virtual offices or virtual offices with the possibility of booking meeting rooms. And only in the beginning of this year, we could see the revival of interest to traditional office space. So from what we could see from our clients is that the employers saw that work can easily be done from places other than their office, and their employees could be efficient from home or working from home partly and partly from the office. So they started implementing this, and perhaps for tenants, it could be a more cost-effective solution. So they could get a more flexible contract with an operator, and this way, this could be more money-saving.
Because it takes a while also to just transform your work practices. It's not that, okay, you are a company with, we saw those companies, for instance, in London or in the US, claiming that they would allow remote working fully, or that they would get rid of half of the offices, but that's not something you can do overnight. There is a process, there is those things that need to be implemented. So how far do you see, and on the other hand, are the operators ready to accommodate all these bigger players and different kind of profiles nowadays? Because that's something we also made from our own survey. The offering still, especially in continental Europe, is still very limited, especially once you get out of the big dense metropoles, isn't it?
We could see a concern from our operators regarding this situation, but they expressed optimism, and from our survey, we feel that the operators are ready, and they even expect higher rates in the future, in the second half.
In the prices, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's maybe switch to the study itself, if you're okay. I will share the screen. Up. Here we are. So so first of all, that's for Europe. So that's the European survey. And you ask how much did the COVID-19 influence the way you are running your business? And the chart is pretty self-explaining. Okay, it was considerable for half of the people and significant, let's say, for a remaining quarter. So yes, from where you are, do you see a lot of simply operators who went out of business just because of the pandemic? Do you have some numbers on that? Have you seen that indeed from the people you are working with? Yes, some of them didn't recover, won't recover. What do you see there?
Actually, we do notice that a lot of workspaces are closing throughout the year. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of workspaces from our database because of the pandemic, and workspaces were just standing empty, so it was economically not beneficial. So perhaps around 10% were the
10%.
Mhm.
That's still okay, isn't it? In the crisis, or still. How do you see that number of 10%? Because we fear that it could be much higher at the end of the day, isn't it?
Of course, it's not terrible, but taking into account that under normal circumstances, there was around 10%, I think, increase, or 10 to 12% increase in the market every year.
Yeah.
So now the situation is going backwards.
Yeah. It's indeed that's if we see that the demand is growing and still the offering just drop by 10%, it means that there's a gap that needs to be filled into to some extent. So how much did the COVID-19 change your office workflow? Same picture. So what are the big main changes you saw from the survey that operators had to take?
Well, regarding changes to the workflow, this is what we mentioned, is that people are now working from home, or they're typically looking for a workspace somewhere near to their house, so they can it would be convenient for them to get there and then go back home. So people are now working from all the different places. It's how it used to be, that work was in a certain location.
But how do you have information maybe or insight about how companies manage to put, because it was all about home working and versus HQ working, let's say. So where those flex operators find their place in this, scope of offering possibilities that workspace possibilities that you have? How easy is it to find, to be a solution among the two others that are there?
Well, previously, everyone tended to navigate to the CBDs in the cities, but then everything switched to more affordable options. So now people are looking for locations somewhere outside of the central business district, just to be money saving.
So you see that from the insight you get.
Yes.
From. Okay, that's also a striking chart. It's funny to see that we were super optimistic in 2020 regarding the occupancy of the even with under 60%, there was 20% of the operators were thinking that it could drop dramatically, but actually they were still far from the reality that eventually happened. So yes, what can we say about it? Because that's if you associate it with the revenue generated, supposedly, that's a big impact. That's huge in terms of business impact, isn't it?
Of course. Well, initially, we didn't know because the situation was so unprecedented. We didn't know how long it would take. Everybody would hope that in 2021, all of this would be over. But now there were new waves of COVID, new different types. So we were going to lockdown for several times. And of course, this inevitably had consequences on the business and on the income.
Yeah. So, and the occupancy compared to last year, so as we say, much lower. So that's impressive, and not surprising at the end either, because we know what was the impact. But on the other hand, this is the more optimistic side. Despite the drop in the occupancy rate, what you see, according to your survey, is that a majority of the operators that you have surveyed expect a spike in terms of demand and a back to normal, or maybe even higher occupancy rate that they might expect, have been expecting before, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. We can see still, despite this situation, we can see some optimism among our operators, and looks like they're ready. A lot of them were using this time during quarantine to update their workspaces, make them more suitable for the current needs. But the unknown factor, so what we don't know is how people will be, to which extent people will be ready to go back to their offices. Still that the operators are expecting this.
Yeah, because when we ask some operators, we know there is still a lot of uncertainty about our companies or tenants are not ready yet to just tell their employees, okay, move back, come back to the office. It's still some meetings and some 1 day a week sometimes, but we don't see that it's back to normal yet, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, it doesn't. This is something that does not depend on us. So every day we see some new news, and we just have to.
Yeah.
I think it's just about adapting. Who's the fastest to do this? Thinking outside the box.
People remain very cautious for the moment. Occupants remain very cautious, and that's the thing we were mentioning. That they expect a drop in the price, or at least that they need to offer some conditions and discounts to bring people back into the office. So it might be a little bit counterintuitive, isn't it? Because if we say that the offering is going down, and at the same time the demand might go up, operators on average still think that they will have to make some effort to lure back tenants in their facilities, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, all businesses are struggling, so people are looking for the most cost-effective options and more flexible solutions. Sometimes they need to change office quickly on the short-term contract and with the least costs involved.
Okay. So that's what we were saying. So expected price, that it, yeah, it's this is contradictory to a little bit to what I said, but yeah. Can you comment this chart?
Yes. Well, as we could generally notice that there is a tendency for high expectations from our operators. They look optimistic, probably because we were in this crisis for so long that now people are hoping that the situation will change for the better, and this is what we could see.
Okay, that's looking
chart.
forward. Yeah. And that's also, this chart says that actually flexibility will be higher, so that operator expect a little bit less longer term contracts than it was the case in the past, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So now our clients mostly want the most flexible options that they can get, and this is what operators are trying to provide them to win over the client.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's the general outlook that you got. Yes, positive is winning. The positive view, despite everything they went through, those who are still there still see a bright future, or at least less bleak future that they were fearing maybe a few months ago. That's what shows your survey.
Yes, well, we still see some positive tendencies. There are effective vaccines that are being implemented. So hopefully, maybe in half a year, things will start getting back to normal.
Okay, so there was a breakdown by countries. So most of the countries are showing the same average numbers that we saw, but there was one. I will try to show it. It's the Netherlands, where the situation was. It seems like the COVID was not as harsh as it was in some other countries. Do you have some explanation or some other counterexamples in Europe in some countries that
Uh,
you? So yes, it's weird.
yes, we actually noticed from our respondents that the situations was better in some country than in
Yeah.
others, like for example in France, Netherlands, and Denmark. So we could see that most operators said that they were influenced only a little, which could be also because, first of all, maybe the COVID didn't hit this hard, or maybe also the government was issuing some support for businesses. So this is how it can be explained.
Okay. Not because there was a specific structure, market structure, maybe in those countries, or that they had a higher number of in proportion of long-term contracts, maybe, or things like that. That's not necessarily the explanation you see.
Well, in some countries, actually, we could see that there is now maybe a balance, a better balance, because the demand is now corresponding to the offering. That's how it is at the moment.
Okay. All right. Good. Very interesting, and also to keep track of your previous surveys, because then we have the same. We are just watching the same indicators and how they evolve. And yes, there is this side of the story that okay, the industry has been impacted maybe more dramatically that we feared. But on the other hand, things are recovering and could go faster than we expect at the end of the day. And for your business yourself, you see in terms of, because a lot of what you do is also renting out of meeting rooms for spaces. Do you see, are there some products you see catching back with more rapidly with the normal situation than some other, or what do you see in terms of your own business as MatchOffice?
Well, of course, as other businesses, we were struggling, unfortunately, but we tried to catch up with the tendencies. And if clients wanted more meeting rooms, we tried to expand our offering of meeting rooms. We were collaborating with hotels who have meeting rooms just to give our clients a full overview. Also, if the clients were more interested in virtual offices, we were trying to expand and give them what they want, basically. But now, from the start of the year, as I mentioned, we noticed that there is growing demand in office space. So this is reviving now.
You don't see a big shift in terms of, okay, some products are now more demanded and more required than some others, or new kind of requests that you were not maybe as familiar as before with. Is there some change there you see, or it's not that visible?
I wouldn't say that there was something that we were not familiar with previously, but just clients were more shifting towards some private offices or maybe small offices for several people, as opposed to finding a big center for the whole company.
And what about satellite officing? Maybe companies asking for, okay, I need 4 locations to distribute my workforce in this region or this province or whatever. Is that some kind of request you see now, or that you maybe were seeing before already, and there is no specific changes from that perspective?
We did see such requests earlier on, and right now we also see requests to find satellite offices in different cities. So I wouldn't say that there was a change in that, but I did notice that there was a change in the amount. So people are now looking for some smaller offices, maybe several desks or an office for 1 or 2 people. This is really more popular.
And how do you explain that? Is it the impact of home officing mainly that needs that doesn't justify to have as much capacity as it used to be the case before?
Of course, now people are, first of all, more relaxed working from home, so not many of employees are ready to go to the office. And also businesses have suffered, so they need some more cost-effective solution rather than renting a whole floor in a business center. They're just renting a small office.
Okay. Great. Perfect. Thank you so much, Olga, for updating us about those indicators and this. Hopefully, within 6 months, we will have better indicators and better the fact that information about the situation will be much better, and especially in Europe. And we hope to see you in Vienna for the conference that will take place in December. And in the meantime, take care.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having me, and hope to see you in Vienna.
Perfect. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.